And welcome to Friday Night. It is Car Con Carne. I'm James Van Osdell. And the show tonight sponsored by our friends at Siren Records, McHenry, 3902 Main in McHenry. Tonight, I'm so glad to be talking about food again on this podcast after 12 months of sheltering in place and not being able to dine in my car. If you're going to bring food back into the podcast, you have to do it the right way. Tonight, we're talking about Lou Malnati's. You know, it's no small feat to have your restaurant associated with Chicago, the city's culture, its lifestyle, its people. That's Lou Malnati's. In a world where the word legendary is abused, misused, overstated to the point of losing all credibility, Lou Malnati's is legitimately a Chicago legend. It is truly iconic. And my guest tonight, he is here to talk about 50 years of Lou Malnati's. He is Marc Malnati. He is the son of Lou Malnati. He is the owner of Lou Malnati's. Marc, good evening. Happy Friday.
All right, James. Glad to be with you.
I did bring Lou Malnati's pizza for show and tell tonight.
That is great.
I guess let's start here. Let's just start with the food, shall we?
All right.
The crust.
It's good.
There's something magical about what you do with this crust. Anyone could put ingredients on a pizza, but at the base of it all, you have to have a kick-ass crust. And talk about that for a second.
Yeah, you know, if you don't have a good crust, you don't have a good pizza. And we really pride ourselves on having a flaky, buttery, not too thick, not too bready, just a melt in your mouth crust.
A pizza that's made for beer companionship.
Let me see the bottom of that. I want to see the golden brown. It looks like it could have taken a little more heat. No, it was just the light. It was good.
It's just this ring light. I'm trying to be an influencer. I've got a ring light overhead. No, this is golden brown. This is the real thing.
Yeah.
So half a century of Lou Malnati's. And no secret, the last year was a year of unprecedented challenges. But I've got to think over 50 years, there were ups and downs in the life of Lou Malnati's. Last year aside, what were some challenges that you waded through during the 50 years?
Well, that's a fair question. And I think the first big challenge that I, kind of walked through was 1978. We'd been open 7 years. We had 3 stores, Elk Grove, Lincolnwood, and then the third one had just opened in Flossmoor. And that was the year, 77 was the year I got out of college, and early 78 was when my dad died. And so I had a problem with the fact that I lost my dad. I was 22. My brother was still in school. He was 18. And my mom, was doing her best to kind of keep things together. But we had a store in Flossmoor that was really underperforming. And in this business, if you have one bad store, it can suck the life out of 3 good stores. And so we had to make the call. It was a call I didn't want to make. I wanted to show my dad we could turn the store around and make it hum like the other ones. And I went out there and tried to get it going. I moved out there but while I was able to kind of get the expenses under control, I couldn't get the revenue going. We weren't known at all on the South Side. And frankly, we had made some other mistakes as well. I mean, first of all, opening 50 miles from your closest store wasn't great. It wasn't great for bringing in your veteran crew and having them kind of stand in the gap for the first few months you were open. They came out a few days, but no one wanted to drive 2 hours round trip. And secondly, my dad had switched the ovens because he heard that the South Side wouldn't wait as long as the North Side, and that was a disaster. That's a whole nother story. And we just, we weren't doing well. And to make the decision to close that store in May of 78 was the biggest one I had ever made at that time. And sad, and it tore me up to do that. And so that was probably the first big kind of pivotal move. Along the way, we made other mistakes. We tried to open a Pizza by the Slice store in the West Loop, in the 80s. That didn't go very well.
Although on paper, that sounds like a great idea.
It did. It was great at 12 to 12:30 and at 6 to 6:30 at night when we had when people were coming in and we could just crank it out. It was like doing Lollapalooza or Taste of Chicago. But at the odd hour, 3 p.m, our pizza wasn't doing. People came in and they wanted it right now. It was like a fast food operation, and we couldn't do it. And we couldn't. We didn't want to reheat it, and so that was not my best idea. And there's been others along the way, but we opened in England, and that wasn't a great idea.
Yeah, what do they know?
We opened in New York. That wasn't a great idea either. But we've done really well in Chicago, and we've been blessed in that how we've opened, and we started opening one place a year, and then we got to 2, and now multiple, and we've had a chance to really infiltrate downtown and
that location off the Meg Mile is beautiful. I love that one.
Yeah.
And as you talk about the strategy of opening one a year, I feel like the past couple newer locations I visited, everyone has its own style or flair. Like the one in Lincoln Square has its own look and vibe. The one off the Mag Mile has its own look and vibe. Certainly the original in Lincolnwood has its own thing. They're all clearly Lou Malnati's, but there are little points of differentiation which I think are unique to those locations.
Sure. We work with Marc Malnati out of the northern suburbs, and he's a fantastic architect and designer, and we've been doing that for 20 years. And I think it's our desire to have a different personality in every store based on that particular neighborhood. We don't want to appear to be a chain. We want to be a series of sort of independent restaurants that are all kind of competing in their own neighborhood for a bigger slice of the pie, and boom, boom, boom. And we want them to look and feel a little different. We want you to. We don't want you to think about eating at Malnati's when you're at work during the day downtown and thinking, I'm not going to go there for dinner. It's the same old place as downtown. We want it to look and feel different.
Was it a foregone conclusion that you were going to be part of the family business, or was there ever a point where you said, I'm going to be a CPA or
Well, my dad had me convinced I should be a dentist when I went to college. I was the first one in the whole family to ever go to college, and they didn't know much about it, but they decided that, hey, this guy, he's going to be a dentist. And I was in chemistry, I think maybe 2 weeks, when I decided I hate this. I don't want any part of this. And I switched out of all the science courses and into, the courses that would precipitate a business degree, and moved in that direction. So there was a couple weeks where it wasn't going to happen. And then I just, I had been working in the restaurant since I was 15. And when my dad opened in Lincolnwood, and I just thought, this is what I want to do. I don't want to be a desk guy. I want to be out with people, and I want to have a chance to build teams. And I love working with food.
Yeah, it's so true. People who've been in this industry for life, I mean, it's in your blood. Like you can't imagine doing something else. You can't imagine sitting at a desk working 9 to 5. It's the hours, it's the lifestyle, it's the speed at which business moves. It's just, you can't shake that.
Right. And I had my brother who followed me. He was 4 years younger, and he came out of school, and, we had things for him to do, and plugged him in, and he worked together with me for a good 20 years. And he was a guy who we loved working together, and he loved the camaraderie. But he felt like his passion was really working with kids and in coaching. So he left and went on to become a Hall of Fame coach at New Trier High School and Fenwick. So he was one of those guys, he liked it. He just didn't love it.
So stay on the family tip for a second. This is a family-run business. What are the challenges, I guess, in keeping that mentality, keeping that culture in place as you continue to grow your local and national footprint?
Yeah. Well, I think it's always been about family for us. And when I say that, it's not only that customers have had an opportunity to celebrate, major life milestones like, wedding rehearsal dinners or bar mitzvahs or, major birthdays or things like that at Malnati's, because they have. But it's also about, we hire families and someone comes in and we want, hey, bring your brother, bring your sister, bring your mom, and then later your daughter and son. And we have so many families like that as part of our company that it's just kind of woven into the fabric of who we are. And, some people would say, you can't do that. That's going to just create all kinds of issues. And I think that, you can have an issue here and there, but the value of having that kind of tight-knit group far outweighs the other side.
I've been well aware that Chicago expats order Lou Malnati's. They have it delivered. It's important. They miss it. I've been very aware of that from the periphery. Now I'm seeing it firsthand because my son is going away to school, and when he comes back home, it's, Dad, when are we getting Malnati's? It's I don't know what you're doing to people once they leave here, but they can't shake you.
Well, he's different than most kids then, because most kids already have it ordered before they even see their dad or mom, and it's just, Dad, give me the keys. I need to go pick up Lou's.
So what do you think it is? What has allowed?
I think it's the crack cocaine in the crust.
There it is. There it is.
All right. I wasn't going to say it, but
and federal agents are on their way. But in a town that is obviously so known for pizza, what is it about Lou Malnati's that's allowed it to not just exist, but thrive, be ragingly successful for 50 years?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think the restaurant business, starts and stops with the quality of people that you invite to work with you. And, beyond just having families, we have been able to recruit tremendous individuals who wind up, it maybe starts with loving the product, but it moves to, man, I love working at this pace. There's a work ethic at Malnati's that, where people just pride themselves on digging into the trenches together and, kind of going into battle when weekend night comes along, and we're going to crank out 700 orders.
I think that's a Midwestern thing, don't you?
Yeah, maybe it is. And yeah, right. And there's just a great belief in teamwork. And then the other component is just a commitment to working on themselves, to developing themselves personally and becoming more conscious people. In other words, a friend of mine, Jim Dethmer, who's an author on leadership, talks about people who choose curiosity over, kind of righteousness, like, versus, it's like, I'm willing to ask the question, what do you mean by that? And explain that to me versus I need to be the one with the answer. I need to know. And also just someone who's willing to take 100% responsibility for what happens in their life. And, if I'm late, it wasn't the train that made me late or the bad car or, any of that stuff. I created this experience myself versus, I'm a victim to circumstances. I'm living at the effect of someone else. And we really work hard to kind of, have one another's back and support one another in growing to be the best leaders that we can all be, by giving feedback, by staying clear with one another, by by sharing the story we're making up, about what's going on in our relationship before things get really out of hand. And, those kind of things are paramount in our culture. And I think they've created a workplace where, people really want to come to work. They really love working with the others they work with. They treat the business as if it's their own. And, I think that, you have to have that kind of thing going on in order to make it 50 years in any business, especially in a business where everybody's bumping into each other all night.
I started the interview by asking about challenges over 50 years. Let's flip that around. What were some high points from where you're sitting? Some moments where you thought, oh man, it can't possibly get better than this.
Yeah. I think the first night we were opening a new store, and I wasn't scared that if it wasn't successful right off the bat, we might lose the whole enchilada, like everything might come down like dominoes. And that was probably about probably about the 8th or 9th store, somewhere in the 80s, because we took some risks in the 80s where, because we didn't have any money, and we'd open up on a shoestring and risk everything. And it had to go. So those moments, I remember each of those moments of opening restaurants and being scared. And then I remember kind of getting past that fear. I mean, I always want restaurants to open successfully. We're going to open one in Oak Brook tomorrow night. We have the soft opening. We open on Monday. Our first one out there.
I was going to say, I guess I'm surprised that you're not there already. Yeah. It seems like a perfect place for you.
Yeah. We'll see. We've got it surrounded. We've got a store in Western Springs and Elmhurst and a couple others in the area, but those are carryouts, and this is our first restaurant out that way. So we'll see. I think it's going to be really successful, especially when the offices reopen out there. And
oh my God,
stuff like that's starting to happen, and catering and helping people in their offices is a big part of our business. So we're expecting big things out of those channels in Oak Brook.
Going back to the food for a second, so back many moons ago, Uno invented Chicago-style deep dish. Your dad took that recipe, and then 50 years ago opened Lou Malnati's. How much has the recipe been tweaked or played with over the past 50 years? Whether it's the sauce or what you're doing with the cheese or the crust, is it still faithful to what Lou Malnati did 50 years ago?
No. Well, I think it's a little better, actually, because I don't think we had the science then, but we're able to really measure things better and differently. They're able to in California to do different things with tomatoes than they've ever done before, to kind of create them plumper and redder and sweeter. And so that, right at that moment where they're the best of the, all year in late August, usually, I think they're better than ever before. And there used to be, some years where they were down, where the crop was kind of down or didn't, the flavor was off a little bit and everything. That doesn't happen anymore. They're smarter than that out there. I think the cheese makers are better and more consistent. And so, but are we true to the recipe? Absolutely. And others have kind of lost their way, maybe people that, we had grown up with and around competitors. I think, through change of management, change of ownership, sometimes, others have really struggled, and I've watched it and I've tasted it, but I think you'd find a lot of agreement out there, over the 3 or 4 generations that have, gone on since Malnati's opened, that the pizza still stands up, better than ever. And the product is consistently great.
It is consistently great. Again, I'm going to hold up this fantastic deep dish sausage pizza. By the way, for me, it's always sausage.
It's got to be getting cold, though. I don't see the cheese pulling. You eat it anyway, though. I bet you eat it warm, cold.
I don't mind.
In the car, out of the trunk.
I'll eat it out of the fridge the next morning. I love it when it comes piping hot, but I have no problem with the cold deep dish from Malnati's. But that all said, we all kind of reflexively think of deep dish when we think of Lou Malnati's. I think your thin crust doesn't get the attention it deserves, because that also is delightful, but it's not thought of as reflexively as deep dish. Yeah.
No, I think our thin crust is great. I had it last night and I love it. I think it is underrated, but you have to lead with something, and deep dish is the big dog.
All right. So before I cut you loose, Marc Malnati, owner of Lou Malnati's, what do you have going on for the 50th anniversary?
Well, we've got right now, we're selling both the classic and the Lou, the large size, for 1971 after the year we opened. And that's quite a price discount. So take advantage of that for the next few weeks that's available. I think they've got a tremendous contest planned coming up in the next few months. We'll see where people send in little videos about how they would build a pizza, and how they build their favorite pizza, and what would be on it, what we're missing at Malnati's, and we'll pick 4 or 5 of those, and we'll have a genuine throwdown, a la Bobby Flay, and nice. They'll compete against me with real Chicago judges to where we'll definitely have the judging fixed, and we'll see how they do. We've got, people are sending in stories about, their favorite memories at Malnati's, and we're posting them all over our websites. And there's a lot of opportunities if you go to Malnati's.com.
There was something in the water in 1971. Lou Malnati's opened. Led Zeppelin released Zeppelin 4. The Who put out Who's Next. Watershed year in entertainment and food.
Melman started Let Us Entertain You in June of 71 as well.
What a year!
One of my favorites. One of my mentors. A true legend.
If you grew up in the area, your life revolved around Let Us Rest. I think R.J. Grunt's. One of my earliest restaurant memories is R.J. Grunt's.
Mm-hmm. Right.
That's just growing up. All right. So 50 years of Lou Malnati's. Here, I wish I had a glass or some kind of drinking vessel to toast you.
I do. Here I do. Let me pass it to you.
Here's to 50 more.
All right.
Congrats on your anniversary. Much, and thanks for talking tonight.
All right. Let's get together again 50 years from now, same night.
Or sooner in person.
All right. Sounds good.